things. So thank you all. Good afternoon again. My name is Antoine Cook. I'm with AARP California. Thank you all for taking time out of your day to join us for this conversation about the legacy of Black fraternities and sororities in the state of California. And so I am going to just do a quick introduction for our moderator, and then I will be stepping out of the way. So our moderator this afternoon is a woman by the name of Rhonda Smith. She is the executive director of the California Black Health Network, a really strong partner that we started working with last year around Black health equity in California. And we really look forward to doing a lot more with them. So I am going to pass the reins over to Rhonda and get out of the way. So Rhonda.
Thank you, Antoine. As Antoine mentioned, I'm Rhonda Smith, the Executive Director of the California Black Health Network. We work to advance health equity for all Black Californians, and we are so proud of our partnership with AARP, and especially because we're into our second year of that relationship. So looking forward to continuing to work with you, Antoine, and do a lot of great things this year. So I want to welcome you to an important discussion today on the legacy of the Divine Nine in California, obviously organized by AARP California. And this year, AARP's Black History Month theme is really focused on We Thrive Together. And so bringing greater attention and awareness to the efforts of Black fraternities and sororities here in California, and how their work in communities across the state impact individuals and communities such as yourselves, and especially where people live, work, play, and I like to say often slay. And so although there are various organizations that are present here today, what everyone brings to the table in the discussion is that working together for the benefit of residents in those communities and definitely for Black Californians. So we encourage you to type your questions in the chat as we move along during our discussion today. If you see somebody that you know, give them a shout out. If you want to comment on anything that one of the panelists may say, feel free to do that. We want this to be an interactive conversation for today. So before we launch into the panel, we'd like to do a quick poll. So Antoine, can you set things up? So first question is, do you know what the term Divine Nine means? Yes, no, or maybe. So we want to see who is well-versed in the Greek scene in California or in general. And then the second question is, are you a member of a Black fraternity or a sorority? That's pretty much straight yes or no. Wait a couple of minutes here. Okay, I think we have everybody. So yes, most people on the call today are familiar with the term, the Divine Nine. I think I know what that means, but we can find out for sure from our panelists today so that we all are on the same page about that. And then in terms of being a member of a sorority or fraternity, it looks like the majority of the people are not, but we can talk about if you're interested in learning more or becoming a member of a Greek fraternity or sorority, then you'll have information on how you can follow up and connect to learn more about how that process works. Now let's get started with our panelists. And joining us today for this important discussion is Trena Lee Knight from the National Pan-Hellenic Council Los Angeles chapter, where she is the president. We also have Wilda Tillman from the Delta Sigma Theta sorority, Jonathan Green from Alpha Phi Alpha, and Mubarak from Omega Psi Phi. So sure, all Greek names that you are familiar with. So as we get into this conversation for today, please, again, use the chat to drop in any questions, comments. You can use the reaction buttons if you want to clap or just give a smile or whatever emotional reaction you feel is warranted. And so each panelist will have about 5 minutes to share the work that you're doing in your community and the impact that you've been having during your tenure as part of the organization. So I want to start with Trena Lee Knight. So Madam President, Can you tell us a bit about the National Pan-Hellenic Council, how you've worked with and continue to work with Black communities and fraternities and sororities here in California?
All right, yes, so I certainly, Rhonda. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So the National Pan-Hellenic Council is incorporated and is composed of 9 international Greek letter sororities and fraternities. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, which was founded in 1906 at Cornell University. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, founded 1908 at Howard University. Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, founded 1911 in Indiana University. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, founded 1911 at Howard University. Delta Sigma Theta, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, founded 1913 at Howard University. Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, founded 1914 at Howard University. Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, founded 1920, Howard University. Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, founded 1922 at Butler University. And we also have Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, founded 1963 at Morgan State University. Now, the National Pan-Hellenic Council, also known as NPHC, was founded on May 10th, 1930 at Howard University in Washington, D.C. And the chartering organizations at that time were Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. In 1931, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated and Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated joined the council, followed by Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority in 1937, and the NPHC incorporated in 1937 under the laws of the state of Illinois. Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated joined the NPHC as its 9th affiliate member in 1997. The purpose of the NPHC shall be to foster cooperative actions of its members in dealing with matters of mutual concern. To this end, the NPHC promotes the well-being of its affiliate fraternities and sororities, facilitates the establishment and development of the local councils of the NPHC, and provides leadership training for its constituents. Now, that's a little bit about the National Pan-Hellenic Council, the National Council. I am a member of the, of the local chapter known as the National Pan-Hellenic Council Los Angeles, or NPHCLA. The NPHCLA is composed of the Divine Nine organizations that I listed earlier that are located in Los Angeles County. Our purpose is to consider questions, problems, and programs of mutual interest to its members, to facilitate and coordinate intra-council educational, civic, cultural, and social activities. And some of the activities that we've done as a council, we've partnered with our members to provide voter awareness and registration, participated in a social action forum hosted by Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated during their 93rd Far West Regional Conference, and the discussion centered around the Black agenda with a focus on voting rights. We've participated in the Long Beach Juneteenth celebration, where we have the opportunity to educate the community on who we are and what we do as the NPHC, as well as showcase the individual organizations that comprise the NPHCLA, and many of whom were able to speak with parents and youth about their youth programs, as well as other programs that they sponsor. We've worked as a partner at the Gridiron Celebrity Hoops fundraiser benefiting Julie's Kids, which is a charity whose mission is to protect, empower, and enrich the lives of vulnerable youth placed in foster care and child protective services. We've also represented at the first ever Alabama State University HBCU Community Day by educating the community on who we are and the wonderful work that our organizations do. And we give scholarships to our membership that they in turn disseminate in their community, in the communities that they serve. Most importantly, the NPHCLA supports the activities of the individual organizations. As more can be accomplished, will we join together for a common goal than alone? That's just a little bit about NPHC, as well as our local chapter here in the Los Angeles area with regards to who we are, our purpose, and what we do.
Great. Thank you so much, President Lee Knight. You said one thing that I was actually really surprised to learn. And I assume, maybe like some others on the call today, that all of the Divine Nine were founded at a historically Black university. And you mentioned Cornell and I think Indiana. I wasn't aware of that. So thank you for dropping a little bit of knowledge today. I don't know if you want to comment on that, but I guess back in 1906, I didn't expect Cornell would be integrated or would have Black students there.
Well, actually, I'll let Brother Jonathan Green talk a little bit more about that because that's his fraternity. And I know that he's going to talk more about that. But although our fraternities and sororities are historically Black organizations founded at historically Black universities and colleges, we comprise a variety of ethnicities. We're not just only comprised of Black people, African American individuals. And I believe that came up in last week's Zoom as well. But what's great is that what I find is the fact that we all work together for a common goal, and that's basically serving the community. We may wear different colors, so I represent Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the best sorority ever. But we may wear different colors and have different calls, and perhaps we may go about things a little differently. But when it comes right down to it, we all do the same thing. We all help the community, and we're all there for one another. So we may spend time with other organizations. So I may spend time with the AKAs or the Zetas or what have you, and we're still sisters. We're still working together towards a common goal, and I think that's amazing.
Yes, and thank goodness, right? Wilda Tillman is also your soror. Otherwise, I'm sure she would debate you on that about being the best, right? And so on that note, I would like to welcome Wilda Tillman to share her perspective on what Delta Sigma Theta sorority specifically is doing in the community here in the LA area. So Wilda, take the stage.
All right, thank you. And thank you for having me. So I'll just give you a little background, or a quick background of myself and my beautiful sorority and the impact that we've had. So I've been a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority for 22 years. And on April 22nd, I'll be celebrating 23 years in this illustrious sorority. I am an active and financial member of the Los Angeles Alumni Chapter, where I serve as the first vice president. My chapter president is none other than Sor Kimba Ann Miles. She is the president of our dynamic and dedicated chapter, which has been a fixture in the fabulous Far West and LA County since our historic chartering on June 16, 1929, by 10 trailblazing charter members, one of which includes our beloved founder, Wordy Blackwell Weaver. Delta Sigma Theta sorority was founded on the campus of Howard University on January 13th, 1913, by 22 tenacious and forward-thinking collegiate women. On January 13th, we celebrated 110 years of sisterhood, scholarship, service, and social action. We have over 300,000 initiated members and over 1,000 chapters worldwide. We have chapters in, of course, in the United States, but Canada, Japan, Germany, the Virgin Islands, Bermuda, Bahamas, Jamaica, West Africa, Southern Africa, and the Republic of Korea. Our national president is Sora Elsie Cook Holmes. We are an organization of college-educated, primarily African-American women, committed to the development of members and to public service with our primary focus on the Black community. The foundation of Delta's program rests on our 5 programmatic thrusts. The Los Angeles Alumni platform for this biennium is Torchbearers for Delta, Fortitude, Engagement, Empowerment, and Evaluations, which is right in line with the platform of our national headquarters, which is Forward with Fortitude, Engaging our Sisterhood and Empowering our Communities, Evaluating the Impact. And so our 5 programmatic thrusts is educational development, economic development. Our economic development, we have 3 primarily focus that we have. One is called the Dr. Betty Shabazz Delta Academy. And that academy focuses on girls facing academic failure, dealing with low self-esteem. And our primary goal for that program is to prepare young girls for full participation as leaders in the 21st century. We also have the Delta GEMS program. The focus is growing and empowering myself successfully. The Delta GEMS program offers a roadmap for college and career planning through activities that our local chapters provide. We provide opportunities of self-reflection and individual growth. And the age group for the Delta GEMS is age 14 to 18, and 18 if the young person is a current high school student. We also have the Embody program, and the Embody program stands for Empowering Males to Build Opportunities for Development and Independence. Embody addresses issues related to STEM education, cultural and self-efficiency, leadership, physical and mental health, healthy lifestyle choices, character building, relationships, college readiness, fiscal management. The age for Embody for our youth is 11 to 18, and 18, of course, if that student is currently in high school. Another part of our 5 programmatic thrusts is our international awareness and involvement. And that program strives to promote activities and participation to support issues affecting women and children worldwide. We also have our physical and mental health. That's a part of our 5 programmatic thrusts, and that promotes health education programs, health fairs, and provisions for health care services. And lastly, we have our political awareness and involvement programs. And the focus is to enhance political awareness and eradicate injustices that definitely targets African-American people. So this just captures a little snapshot of the impact that the Los Angeles Alumni Chapter has on the communities that we service.
Great, thank you very much, Wilda. I was also surprised to hear that there are actually programs that focus not just on females, but also males in the community. So I applaud you for that work, and curious to hear a little bit more about some things additional things you might want to share about the impact of that on some of our young males in the community.
Yeah, definitely. So the young males that we currently have in our community, we are partnering with other other services, our fraternity, and also 100 Black Men to also, to bring a good balance to the boys. We were just on the college campus of USC, where we had a STEMS program there this past weekend, and it was well received by the young person and their family. And so we have a lot of great programming that target our boys, but we do walk alongside of the men, because that does show that a good balance in between the two. And also there's a lot of single female households who raise young boys to be active, productive citizens. But then we do walk alongside the families who need a little bit more mentoring for those boys.
Great. Thank you for all the great work that you do in the community, and for programs like that that help uplift our young men, which is so much needed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And Jonathan Green, from Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about, when you get through your introduction, about the whole starting point for the organization or the fraternity at Cornell. So I'll hand it over to you, Jonathan.
I'll incorporate all that, Rhonda. First, good afternoon to everyone. Alpha Phi fraternity, we started in 1906 on campus of Cornell University. That's there in New York. The reason the fraternity was founded was because our 7 jewels, our founders, they tried to join the fraternities that were there on the campus of Cornell. And due to segregation and other things, they weren't allowed to be participants. And then they also noticed that, due to the bonding that, the Caucasians students had, they were in fraternities that, they provided steady groups and allowed the students to join. So they decided that our people needed this. And that's why it started with 7, and now the 1906. And of course, it spread. Our number 1 chapter, the first chapter, which is Alpha chapter, is at Cornell. And then, of course, Beta chapter, the second chapter, is at Howard University, which is our link to the HBCUs. But that was the reason the whole fraternity was started, was because, like I just said, it was just a need. And like I said, it had to be filled. Some of our programs are go to high school, go to college. So we have a number of STEM programs that we help. We're linked with Dominguez High School, because my chapter is Iota Zeta Lambda. We're located in Compton, California. So we try to service wherever our chapters are. The same with other organizations. We try to make an impact in our immediate area. My chapter has been chapter of the year 4 times. And the reason why is because we, like I said, we go to our utmost to try to help the students. So we've helped at Dominguez High School. There's a program we run over. It's called Project Excel through the Los Angeles Council of Black Professional Engineers. That's over at Cal State Dominguez Hills. And that's where we work with students, male and female, from 2nd grade all the way up to high school. And so we have classes prepare them in mathematics, science, chemistry, whichever else they have. And also we have a SAT preparation course. Because even though we hear in the news that they're going to get rid of these tests, we still see that they're using them as a metric. So that way the students need to be prepared. Our next main program is a voteless people is a hopeless people. We've worked with the MPHC, that's our whole group with all these organizations, to make sure we register votes. And then to show that we're not just trying to just register people. We have the current mayor, Rex Richardson of Long Beach, who's the first Black mayor ever of the city of Long Beach, California. He's a member of our chapter. Also, Al Austin, he just left the Long Beach City Council. He's a member of our chapter. And even though he's a member of another organization, the mayor, I lived in the city of Carson, and Jawan Hilton, he's the a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. He's the mayor of, he's the mayor pro tem And also the mayor of the city of Carson, Lula Davis Holmes, she's a member of she's a Delta also. So the thing is that as you go through, which is interesting about Greek life, is that the more you see the people that are usually in charge of organizations, somewhere you're going to find, and especially if they're African American, you're going to see they came through the Divine Nine, and that's just part of the unity. Because I know even myself, the last couple of jobs I've had, I've known, brothers of the fraternity. And I mean, even though I have a master's degree, I didn't even have to fill out applications. So I just got a job just because they know me. So I think that's the thing, is the networking. And that's what people don't understand. I mean, they just see the other things, but the beauty of all our organizations is the networking and how it establishes. And then this is the last thing I just want to mention. We're also making sure that we're helping the community as far as feeding every third Friday over at the Center of Hope in Inglewood. We feed the community. So they're able to pull their cars up about each week. We fill each month, I should say, about 150 cars. I don't know how many families that feed, but I guess you multiply that by 5, that's what, like 750 families a month we try to feed to make sure that they're food sufficient. And I didn't want to take up all the time, but that's just a little about Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
Great, thank you, Jonathan. And so just curious about, you talked about an amazing program that you all have at Dominguez Hills, right? And I think it's great that you go back to, I think you said 2nd or 3rd grade.
Yes, because like I said, I'm a substitute teacher and a tutor, and you'd be amazed that the prison rates are built on, I know here in California, from what I hear from politicians, on 3rd grade level. So it's amazing that a 3rd grader decides whether, and that's when you're 8 years old, when you're in the 3rd grade, that you're deciding whether you're going to like school and choosing what your future is going to be. Yeah, so that's why we have to reach them young. So
yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I was actually just having a conversation with someone the other day about, instead of projecting the number of prisons needed based on the pipeline, the prison program, why not have an intervention to expose kids at that age to career options? And you're doing exactly that. So happy to hear that, and congratulations. I'd love to connect with you maybe outside about that and some other things.
Oh, definitely. And one last thing, I don't want to take up the time. I think the other thing we need to do more of is we have to help the parents, because many of the parents, the child just does what the parent says. And if the parent says, hey, this didn't do me any good, then why should I continue? So I think, though our programs help the children, I think we also need to make sure we include the parent, because I think if they're helped, then you understand, they're wounded. So we can help heal their wounds, then they can help the child also.
Yeah, well, it does take a village to raise a child, right? So thank you very much for that. And just a reminder to drop your questions in the chat if you have any, and we'll get to them shortly. And so last, but certainly not least, is Rome Mubarak. Rome is from Omega Psi Phi fraternity. And Rome, can you talk a little bit about the legacy of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity and how you all are active in the community?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me as well, Rhonda. So Omega Psi Phi fraternity was founded Friday, November 17th, 1911 at Howard University, and founded by four men, Oscar James Cooper, Ernest Everett Just, Frank Coleman, and Edgar Amos Love. Ernest Everett Just was the actual faculty member who took the 3 students under his wing to help organize and establish the fraternity in 1911. And ever since then, service has been our key for the community in assisting our community members, particularly children, from as early as, I would say, 5 to 6 years old in kindergarten, all the way up through college. The organization has, at least here in California, I would like to sort of highlight one of the flagship chapters that has really taken major giant steps, and quite similar to Brother Green and the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity regarding the STEM program, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Zeta Rho, so they were founded in 1962 here in Los Angeles. They have actually 4 programs that are really just amazing programs. And I think they were initiated essentially because of the decrease in what we saw. As I grew up in EOP program, the Equal Opportunity Program at the Cal State system. So they wanted to put together a few programs that would help funnel and channel a lot of our children in the last few strongholds here in Los Angeles of African American kids to be funneled and channeled right into college. So they have the Ernest Everett Just Saturday Summer Marine Science Program. That's for grades 4 through 12. They have a Thriving Male Mentoring Program. That's for grades 6 through 12. And they also have a scholarship program for college and beyond. Now, the scholarship program, they give away 46 scholarships a year at $5,500 a piece. That's almost $250,000 in scholarship funds going to our children here in the city of Los Angeles. There's also a youth and college ambassadors high school to college program where we ask that a lot of our high school students be aides to our elementary school children. We also provide distance learning. We do Zoom for elementary school children tutoring, and we also have face-to-face tutoring for high school students as well. The Saturday Science Academy consists of a Saturday, the third Saturday of the month is typically classroom instruction, and it's typically held on the campus, the same campus, Cal State University Dominguez Hills, where the students receive education on designated STEM topics. And on the fourth Saturday, there's a field trip, and that could range from anywhere from going to the Aerospace Center, going to museums, anything that we can kind of relate the children that are into that particular science or mathematics or engineering. We try to get them to be hands-on in learning those particular mediums. We also have oh gosh, we've got so many other programs here. We've got at least 1,200 students are impacted by these programs per year, and that number is growing. We spend over 95,000 total student exposure hours to date since the inception of these programs. And I'd also like to highlight Lambda Omicron. That's my chapter that I belong to. It was established in 1946 here in the city of Los Angeles. We do also a number of things working directly with EOP, because as some of you may know that are listeners here on the program, back in the 80s, we had a lot of summer bridge type programs to basically funnel in African-American children and Latino children to the Cal State system. Well, that number has diminished considerably as it has been underfunded or defunded. And so we're trying to take it upon ourselves to reach out to various schools, target those students that are on the cusp of being good to great, showing initiative, and getting them on that trajectory early on. So we've got a myriad of programs. We have a scholarship award ceremony that we do once a year. Some of you may remember the Starlight Ball that started in 1948. We are actually there's a resurgence, so we're actually bringing that back as well this year. Really looking forward to it, and there is a scholarship component for many of the students here in the LA Basin that we're also targeting. So there's just a lot of various programs that we really want to highlight, and we want to try and, especially for white institutions, we don't have the luxury of HBCUs here on the West Coast. So we really are trying our best to target and capture as many of our students as possible, and away from the what do you call it, the prison to pipeline, school to prison pipeline sort of thing that's been going on over the course of the last 25 years. So that's in a nutshell, and to sort of summarize that's sort of what we've been doing, is to curtail those numbers, and make sure that our kids are well taken care of. I'll yield my time and for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all that wonderful information. And I think I grew up in a household with two Greek parents. My dad was a Q and my mom was a Delta. And I know just in their circle of friends and the community that I grew up in, education was important. And especially for their generation, it was a way up and out. And it sounds like that's the work that you're doing and the impact that you're having for all the youth that you're working with. So I think that's a great thing. And for someone I got my undergraduate degree in civil engineering. So glad to hear the focus on STEM and providing opportunities for maybe kids in the community who otherwise wouldn't know about those opportunities or careers to get exposed to that. And so just curious about whether or not, you talked a lot about metrics, which I think is great to evaluate and assess the impact of your program. Just curious about whether you do any comparison with the kids who go through the program versus those who not, like what the graduation rate is or going on to college. Do you track that kind of information as well?
We do track graduation rates. We track recidivism rates as well. Those children that we are able to track, and we have relationships with both elementary schools throughout the LA City Basin and high schools. We do try and do follow-ups before, during, and after graduation, and track those students. Because at the end of the day, and this may or may not be a topic, but prior to COVID, our numbers as the D9 were already sort of going downward, and that's due to everything from Prop 209 back in the 90s, and a myriad of other things that have been basically sort of choking out the ability for African American students to be able to attend white institutions here on the West Coast. So we're definitely trying to keep those numbers abreast and target all those students through our metric system. Absolutely.
Great. So I want to thank you to all the panelists for sharing some very enlightening and great information about how you all work to have an impact on the community, even though you're part of different organizations. But I think in the beginning we talked about we all work towards one common goal, and it's great that we can do that together to have an impact. And just in listening to what everybody's done is like, where would our communities be without fraternities and sororities who do this work to help uplift communities and provide opportunities for those who otherwise wouldn't have access. And so now I'm going to ask Antoine Cook to help me with the questions that are in the chat. And I think we have at least one question in the chat, Antoine.
Yes, Rhonda, we do. And I'm gonna get to the question, but there's also a comment that someone gave as well. And then we want to give the panel an opportunity to respond. But Linda asked a question about the I guess seriousness, amount of activity at the collegiate level. So current chapters, fraternities and sororities, and how involved they are in communities versus alumni chapters or fraternities and sororities and chapters. Claudius, who is a Kappa Alpha Psi member, mentioned that all of the Divine Nine members are active in the community on the collegiate level, as well as later in life on the alumni level. We may have different colors, going back to something Madam President said, but we all are very similar in helping the community. So that was his response, and just wanted to offer it to the panel as well, if anybody else wanted to add anything to it.
Yes, I just want to speak to Linda question. I know she said that it seems with fraternities and sororities, There's a lot of partying. But I mean, as far as our organizations go, because like I said, I'm a graduate of Cal State Long Beach, and but for the entire fraternity, just to even become a member, you have to have a 2.5, your GPA. And just to tell my story, I had to join later because of my first attempt. I was on academic probation, and I wasn't accepted. And you got to remember the difference with our organizations as opposed to the others is that part of being a member of the fraternity, especially even on the collegiate level, is forming study groups and working together. Our goal, like I said, I mean, you know, we like to have fun, we do party, but our main goal, our number one goal is to graduate. And that's what we constantly preach. And that's graduating within a 4 or 5 year time frame. You know, we don't want anybody 7, 8, 10 years or something like that. So
yeah, no career students, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, are there
and then also to add to that, in addition to the academic requirements, the undergraduates are also required to perform community service as well. As a matter of fact, in order to be initiated into an organization, you had to have performed community service. And so that continues while at the collegiate level. And so they may do different types of activities. The thing about it is when you join one of our organizations and you go through the initiation process, because it is a process, it is a lifetime commitment. And so because it is a lifetime commitment, that commitment begins as soon as possible. So the collegiates, they also do activities. So we've talked about various activities that the alumni do provide in the community as well, but the collegiates, they do a variety of different services, whether it's, I've seen where they've given scholarships, where they have done fundraisers to for the homeless and things of that nature. So I see Brother Green's hand is up, so I'll let him, I'll turn it over to him.
Oh, I just wanted to add one last thing. So Linda understands is, as our president expressed about the seriousness of our organization, you're even screened for even if you're behind on child support, because one of the things we constantly teach, whether because we have college brothers, you know, they have many children, or if they're not current on their child support, you can't even be a member of our organization. So it's a serious thing, and like you said, we want the best of brothers, the best of men, because we're here to help the community.
Great. I think we have another question in the chat, Antoine.
Yes. Someone asked, Sherry asked, can someone who has not gone through college sorority fraternity system align themselves with some local organization efforts and activities? And I think this gets to, you know, someone may not be a member currently. Is there an avenue for them to be able to get involved as a volunteer or with the chapters?
Absolutely. If I may sort of address that, there's a number of other organizations, Bridge Builders, 100 Black Men, there's the Masons, Prince Hall Masons. There's a variety of other organizations that a person who maybe hasn't gone to college would like to still volunteer and make an impact and be a part of the community, that they can join. Absolutely.
Great, thank you. And Antoine, are there any other questions in the chat before we move on to try to wrap up?
No other questions in the chat. There is a hand raised, Trudy.
Hello, my name is Trudy Aldrin. I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I just want to speak to the question for those who may not have a college degree or not have attended college or four-year university, I should say. We do have a organization called Zeta Amici, which means Friends of Zeta. And those are for women, high school level or up, or actually college level up. They can be at a 2-year college or not not have any education. I should say not no education. I'm sorry, I'm at work. I'm trying to sneak out and do this. But anyways, we have women who work alongside us, and they're of all walks of life. They just may not have a 4-year university degree, and they do their community service as well. They feed the homeless, they collect clothing, they do all sorts of things. They give out scholarships to high school and college students. So there is an entity called Zeta Amici, which is a part of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. You can always go to our website and look them up and join. Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy. And Antoine, was there another question?
Yeah, there was another question, but there was a hand up. I know she put her hand down, but I didn't know if Jacqueline Pittman Bryce, she had her hand up there for a second. And then also Wilda has her hand up.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Jacqueline Pittman Bryce, and I was a chapter member, a charter at USC in 1980. And I was initially wanted to expound on what Linda was asking. And I've out of the chart, all the chapters I've been a part of, because I'm now like a 41 year member of Sigma Gamma Rho. And every chapter I've ever been involved with after being at USC with that chapter, and then other chapters in my my age of getting to 61 years old right now, there's community service is paramount. So you'll find it all of the ideas and the experiences shared by everyone is it's mirrored, and it is mirrored across the Divine Nine. It doesn't matter what color we have on, but it's all mirrored through everyone. So great experience. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jacqueline. And are we good with the questions, Antoine, or do we have time?
Those are all the questions in the chat.
Okay, great.
Is there a way I can just comment before we go on?
Sure.
Okay, so I just wanted to touch base on, because I reread Linda's, I think she did a point of clarification regarding her statement that she did go to college, but also for Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Los Angeles Alumni Chapter in particular, if you would like to volunteer, we do a lot of things on, and we post them on social media that allow the general public who are not members to participate with us and come alongside. Also for volunteerism, then we start our volunteer, we have a training program that you would have to go through as a volunteer, which would then allow us a background screening and things of that nature, which would allow you to volunteer, especially alongside of our youth programs, if that is your wish. And then after that, screening and training, then you can definitely volunteer with chapters, if that's your wish. And then I know that we talked about earlier before coming on that we will put something in the chat to for the guests to go ahead and contact Pan-Hellenic so that, you know, whatever organization they're trying to volunteer with, they get that information. So, yeah.
Great. Antoine, I think you're going to put that email address or information in the chat. So people will follow up.
Yes, I'm going to put it back. I put it in there earlier, but I'll put it right now and then later on too.
Okay, great. So I think this discussion.
Rhonda, I was going to say, I think Brother Jonathan had his hand up.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just one last thing I wanted to say. Ms. Linda, you just don't have to go to the sororities, the fraternities, because like I said, we have our STEM program, and a lot of the brothers aren't good with algebra. You might be good with algebra, so we need you to, because we have a lot of volunteers that aren't a member of the fraternity, you know, male and female. Because like I just said, our goal is to help these kids. So I mean, I don't care what, you know, we don't care what you know, I mean, what organization you're with. I mean, if that's your desire, come along and we'll be glad to have you.
Great, thank you, Jonathan. So the discussion today has been incredibly enlightening, but unfortunately, time has flown by and we've come to the end of our event for this afternoon. So we want to thank the panelists, Trena Lee Knight, Wilda Tillman, Jonathan Green, and Mubarak for spending your time with us this afternoon and sharing about all the amazing work that your fraternities and sororities are doing in the community with us this afternoon. We want to also thank the audience for taking time out of your, what I'm sure is a busy day, to participate and ask some good questions. Of course, AARP has many activities across different areas in the state, and they would love for you all to get involved. And so if you want to know more about volunteer opportunities with AARP, you can visit their website at www.aarp.org/California. And to also learn about not just volunteer opportunities, but also upcoming events. This and other conversations about Black history will not end for AARP in February. There's more on their website, and we will be doing a series with AARP this year on caregiving in the Black community. So it will be a 5-part series starting in about April or May of this year. That information will also be on the AARP website. So we encourage you to stay in touch and get on the mailing list and become a member if you're not. We would also, before we end today, like to take another quick poll. And so Antoine, if you can put up the poll. Okay, and so the first question is, are you interested in getting involved with a Black fraternity or sorority? We talked about how that could happen. So if you could answer yes, no, or maybe if you're on the fence about it. And the second question is, are you interested in learning more or getting involved with AARP as a volunteer? Okay, so I think we're still getting a few responses here. So it looks like overwhelmingly we're going back and forth, but most of the people are interested in volunteering or learning more about the sororities and fraternities that we talked about today. So again, Antoine put information in the chat about how you can get involved or volunteer. And then, yes, again, go to the AARP website. That's www.aarp.org/California to learn more about what's happening here in California and how you can get involved. And so also for our organization, the California Black Health Network, if you're interested in learning more about what we do and how you can get involved as a member, as a volunteer, as a board member, as a donor, you can visit our website at www.ca, as in California, abbreviated, blackhealthnetwork.org, or you can follow us on social. All of our social media sites are very easy to remember. It's your CBHN on Twitter, Facebook, and also Instagram. And we're on LinkedIn as the California Black Health Network. So on behalf of AARP California, I'm Rhonda Smith, again, the Executive Director of the California Black Health Network. This concludes our event for today. And thank you so much for being here today and taking time out of your afternoon to participate. Happy Black History Month. Thank you very much.